covering the stories that impact your life, your town, your state, and your future. This is the Means Report with your host, Brad Means.
Hello everybody, and welcome once again to the Means Report. We certainly appreciate you spending part of your time with us, where today we have a great edition of the Means Report to let you know about some wonderful research that's going on. You might not have heard about it, but we want to let you know about the key players in a couple of key projects, documentaries that are being done to preserve legacies. Your help is needed though, and the two guests today are going to tell you how you can help make these documentaries even better. And of course, we'll wrap up the Means Report as we always do with ways that you can stay in touch with us and help us get more great guests like our first one. He is an accomplished filmmaker and photographer. Many of you know him, I'm sure. Mark Albertin, our special first guest today. Mark, thanks for all you do for our community and continue to do, and thanks for being here.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you, Brad.
Absolutely. All right, so the two documentaries that we're going to focus on today with you and with retired Major General Perry Smith, because he's a key part of this as well, are on Army General Norman Schwarzkopf and Ed Gillespie, a giant in this community who really has had a huge influence, especially in the realm of healthcare. My question is, why did you choose to take part in this? Was it because those two men are so fascinating, or because General Smith is so enthusiastic about this?
Both.
Yeah.
I've known General Smith for many, many years. We've worked together on a number of projects, and he's been a wonderful contributor to my business in getting me started really in the past. But then when I've always known about General Schwarzkopf, but I didn't really know a lot about Ed Gillespie. And we started talking about this, and I was like, my gosh, this guy would be a wonderful story, and he wanted to do this. So he made it happen. But yes, to answer your question, 2 points there. Definitely knowing the man himself, General Smith, and then secondly, these two very high accomplished individuals.
All right, let's start with Augusta's own, by way of Minnesota, Ed Gillespie. There's a ton of stuff on the internet and elsewhere about Schwarzkopf. How can we help you know and learn more about Mr. Gillespie? This is where the community helps out.
Very much so, Brad. Contributing and contacting with information would be wonderful. Mm-hmm. First of all, if they have some stories, if they knew him well in the past and they have some stories about the past with him, working with him, I would love it if they would reach out to me. And I think my information, Scrapbook Video Productions, you'll probably have available. But they could reach out to me either by phone or by email. We'll set up a time to talk. We're also looking for archival photographs of him in the past, even old movie footage from the past of him somebody might have had. That would be wonderful.
Do you want to interview these people, or do they just give you the info?
Both. If they know enough and they're comfortable with going on camera, I would love to interview them.
How long is each documentary going to be, Schwarzkopf and Gillespie, or do you know yet?
It's fluid right now. We're thinking both of them are going to be close to an hour long. It's really hard when you get into this, and you're in this field.
Yeah.
When you start gathering material and it kind of grows in mushrooms, and that will probably happen, I have a feeling. And I hope it does happen, because we want to get all aspects of the story recorded and brought into this thing. It'll be a very full story that way, and then we can pick and choose the best of the best to put into this film.
Mark, you're so good at what you do, and you're right. In the news business, we sum up the events of the day in about 90 seconds. Each piece is about that long. How do you do someone's life and in such a finite amount of time? What's your process?
It's a difficult process. Shooting the interview is actually the easy process. Mm-hmm. It's more grunt work. You're lugging around the camera, setting up the lights, setting up the microphone. But going back through after you've recorded, let's say, 2 hours of somebody's story and nailing it to just the key parts, that's the hardest part. I have to go through and look and say, does this pertain to the story? Does this pertain to our mission statement basically on the story? If it doesn't, we save it for something else, but we look for those key parts of that and put those into the story. Obviously, we don't want it just to be a turn the page type situation. We want it to have personality, and we want there to be some humor in there, some sadness. We want the whole range and gamut of emotion in a story like this. And so you're looking for all that, but we definitely want to find those historical context stories that fit into it.
What about Norman Schwarzkopf? What part of the general's life will you focus on? He did so much. How can you narrow that down?
We're going to try to encapsulate as much as we can. We're going to try to go through the whole story from his youth all the way up. What shaped him into the man he was? You know, we all know him. I know him, and I'm sure most of the people watching this remember Desert Storm, right. Desert Shield. We remember all of that. And that's how he became such a household name, so to speak. You know, everybody saw him on TV. But there's so much more to the man than that. And we want to make sure that people understand that and realize that he was such a leader, such a brilliant strategist. This needs to be brought out. But also, what made that man who we saw on CNN and on television in the past?
Yeah, I know General Smith was close to General Schwarzkopf, and so we'll ask him about that in our next segment. How long does it take to put a documentary together? I mentioned the news story. We have one shift per day to do that. How about you?
It's going to take me months. Usually I always say, well, about a year, you know, but we're trying to get this done and trying to wrap this up. The Schwarzkopf, we're hoping to have it finished sometime this spring, early summer. Then we will begin production on Gillespie and start working on his project. And then hopefully by the end of that, end of 2026, it'll be finished.
How's the response been so far on Ed Gillespie? Do you sense that he is beloved?
I do. And we've had letters, and I interviewed him with General Smith a few years ago at the Augusta Museum of History, and I didn't know really that much about him at the time. We were doing this for the Dias Symposium, and did an interview with him. And I remember sitting there going, why do I not know about this man? Why is he not promoted more as things he's done? Because he has done so much for Augusta. So I'm excited about this. It's gonna be a lot of fun to work on this project.
You know, you're right. When General Smith first mentioned Ed Gillespie, I was embarrassed too, because once I did some research, I thought, I should know more. I should have heard of him more. So I'm glad that you're doing this.
Thank you.
To shine that spotlight on him. We're going to keep a close eye on your progress for sure, but is there going to be a time where the public can view this?
Yes, there will be. We have not set in stone any kind of premiere location or date or anything at this point, but I'm sure there will be something, and we'll definitely put it out there and let you know so you can please put it out there for us.
Which do you like better, Mark? Photography or videography? You're so good at both. What gives you the most joy?
That's a hard question, Brad, because I really do enjoy both. You know, they both give me an opportunity to be very creative. Photography is at a slower speed. It's almost like videography is at 78 RPM for people that are old school and understand what I'm talking about, that kind of speed. Photography is more like 33 1/3. It's much slower pace. You go out and you look at something, you visualize. But with videography, I become very creative. You think about when you're shooting an interview, okay, I need to find some footage to go with what he's talking about.
Right.
I need to think about how are we going to open this? How are we going to close this? How are we going to get that hook to get people watching this? I want to have a way to get people so that they'll stay with this documentary. So your wheels are always turning, so you're moving at a much faster speed. Taking pictures, especially in black and white like I do with film, is a much slower speed.
What's an advantage to, I don't want to say old school photography because that's wrong. It's your way of photographing things is with the times, no question. But how is your equipment different from an iPhone?
Very, very different. It's very old. Some of it is over 100 years old, some
Really?
of the cameras that I use. It kind of amazes me, Brad, that this stuff still works, and it does, but it was built to last. And I'm hoping that after I'm gone, it'll still be around and somebody else can use it. It's a slower process, as I mentioned earlier. You have to really become immersed in where you are in the moment. With a digital camera, it's click, 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 okay, I got something, that's good. With a film camera, it's more, let's think about this. How's the light? What's the light going to be like in a half an hour from now or an hour from now? Is that going to change the perspective? So that's different.
Is any project too large or too small for you?
You know, you were talking to the cameraman, the audio guy, the lighting guy, and the producer. Scrapbook Video Productions is a very small business. The only problem I have with any project is having the time to do it, because I love doing these types of projects, but it's going to take me some time. It's not like I have a crew of people that can be doing the editing. I'm doing the editing also in post-production, so it takes me a little time. There is no project that is too large for me. It's just a matter of the time to do it.
A couple of more quick questions. I know that you quickly need to get out of here because you're off to DC. Is that going to really be where you get a lot of the Schwarzkopf legwork done?
I am. So this is the first part of the process. You know, the first part is gathering the material, gathering all the content, interviews. And so we've got interviews scheduled from now until March. And basically, I'm going to be going all over the place. I'm going to be going to DC right now, then I'm going to be going to Denver and to Seattle and to Dallas. So I'm going to be going all over the place. But thanks to General Smith, he knows these people, he knows these connections, and he's lining it up. And so I'm scheduling and going. And then when I come home, it'll be a matter of going ahead and going through these and what are we going to use, what are we not going to use, and getting those archival images and footage.
Now, that's some of that grunt work that you mentioned when you sit down and just have to log everything you've done.
Hours and hours.
Probably my last question, Mark, and it's just to ask you what kind of satisfaction you get out of the work you do. Photography, videography, your legacy is going to be that you've contributed to families, to communities, to this country, and that'll last, as you mentioned, forever. How's that feel?
Feels really, really good. You know, I was thinking about that on the way here because driving over, you know, when years ago, my father would tell me all kinds of stories, and I never recorded his stories, and I wished I had. We're at a point in time when that can be done. Can you imagine hearing somebody from the Revolutionary War talking about that world that they lived in back then? We could do that now for generations past us and preserve these stories. And to me, it's so very important. You know, we can only guess what their dialect was, how they spoke, the different language, how they sounded, the tone of their voice. We can do that. And that's why it's so cool. And not only that, but we can learn from things that they've experienced.
That's so well said. I have such deep regret, especially being in this line of work, not recording my dad, my grandparents. Mark Albertin, thanks for the work you're doing. I can't wait for Schwarzkopf and Gillespie to come out. Keep us posted.
Thank you, I will.
Absolutely. Mark Albertin, videographer, photographer, he's so good at what he does. When we come back, General Perry Smith, you heard Mark talk about him. He's a huge part of these projects as well. His connections to the honorees on the Means Report.